Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're embarking on a journey into a bit of ancient text. It's Genesis chapter 5, just the first 5 verses. Now you might look at it initially and think, okay, just a list of names, numbers, a ledger maybe. But honestly, hidden in these few lines are some really profound insights, stuff about what it means to be human. So our mission today, let's unpack those significant nuggets of knowledge. Think of it as a shortcut to getting, really well informed about this foundational text. Ready, let's unpack this. Okay, we start with Genesis 5, verse 1. It reads, "This is the written account of Adam's family line." Now this phrase, the written account, or sometimes the book of the generations, Toledot in Hebrew, why is it significant that this is the first time we see it in the Bible?
Yeah, that's a great starting point. Because Toledot, it's not just like a casual phrase dropped in there. It really marks something formal, a formal record starting. You could almost say it's signaling a distinct new chapter in the human story. Its appearance right here tells us there's a deliberate shift happening in the narrative. We're moving from, the really early stuff in Eden to tracking the generations that come after. It's like, okay, documentation begins now. A new phase is being recorded.
Okay, a new chapter. And then the text goes on, the second part of verse 1 and into verse 2. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them, and he named them mankind when they were created. Feels like such a strong echo of the creation account, right? Even after everything that happened in chapters 3 and 4.
Exactly. It's a direct callback to Genesis 1, verses 26 and 27.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crucial is the emphasis.
Yeah.
Despite everything, human beings still bear God's image. Fundamentally.
But it wasn't erased by the fall.
No, that's the point here, I think. It seems inherent, foundational, not wiped away. And also, that word mankind, in Hebrew, it's Adam, which is fascinating because it can mean the individual Adam or it can mean humanity collectively. So it's this powerful way of saying, look, this story, this blessing, this image-bearing, it's really about all of us. It applies broadly.
That's quite beautiful, actually. That reminder embedded right there, both men and women, created in God's image, blessed by God. So if humanity still carries this image and blessing, how does the lineage continue? What does verse 3 tell us about what's being passed on? It says, when Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth.
There's this really interesting parallel here, isn't there? God creates Adam in his image.
And then Adam has Seth in his own likeness, in his own image. Yes, it's quite profound when you pause on it. Just like Adam reflects God's image, Seth now reflects Adam's.
Physically, you mean, or something more? Well, probably physically to some extent, but I think it's deeper. It speaks to the continuation of that inherent dignity, being image bearers. But, and this is key, it also implies passing on the brokenness that's entered the picture since Eden. The struggle, the hardship, mortality itself, that's now part of the inheritance too.
So the legacy is mixed, dignity and brokenness passed down together.
Precisely. It shows humanity continues, yes, but the consequences of the fall are now woven into that ongoing story, into the very fabric of the lineage.
Okay, and then we get to verse 4. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. These huge lifespans, they always catch people's attention, don't they? It's generated so much discussion over the centuries.
People debate, are they literal, symbolic, representing something else entirely?
Right.
And, without getting too deep into that specific debate right now, what seems clear is that the text is depicting a very different era, an era characterized by incredibly long lives.
But what's the significance of that length beyond just being a long time?
Well, it certainly underscores the potential for, legacy, for knowledge transfer over generations in a way we can barely imagine. But maybe it also makes the eventual end, death, feel even more significant, like a greater loss after such a long existence. It highlights just how profoundly the fall impacted things, introducing mortality even into these extraordinarily long lives. It makes death stand out even more starkly, perhaps.
Yeah, that makes sense. Even 900 plus years isn't forever. Which brings us right to the end of this section, verse 5. Altogether, Adam lived a total of 930 years, and then he died. Just flatly stated.
And that statement, it's incredibly significant. Think about it. This is the very first time the Bible actually records the death of a human being.
Wow. The first death notice.
Exactly. And it connects directly back to God's warning in Genesis 2, verse 17, remember, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die.
Right, the warning about the tree.
Yeah, so Adam lives this incredibly long life, 930 years, but the warning holds true. Death has entered the story. It's now undeniable. It's become a permanent fixture of the human condition.
So If we step back and look at these 5 verses together, what's the bigger picture they're painting for us? Because there is this intriguing mix, isn't there? There's hope, the image of God endures, there's blessing, life continues through children, but then, bam, the stark reality of death. It feels like the text is saying, okay, this is what it means to be human now. Created, blessed, but also mortal.
That's a great summary. You have this continuity. The image of God isn't erased. It gets passed on generation after generation. That's huge. But alongside that continuity, there's this profound sense of loss, maybe even a longing for something more.
Like a hope that maybe death isn't the absolute final word.
Exactly. Perhaps a hope that things weren't always supposed to be this way and maybe won't always be. So these first few verses of Genesis 5, they really lay down these foundational themes. They set the stage perfectly for the rest of the chapter, which keeps exploring generations, legacy, and humanity's ongoing search for hope in this, post-Eden world.
That gives us a lot to think about just from 5 verses. As you, listening, reflect on this deep dive, here are a few things maybe to ponder. First, thinking about that idea from verses 1 and 2, that we all still bear God's image. How might really grasping that change how you see yourself or how you interact with other people day to day? And then there's that parallel, Adam passing his likeness to Seth. What do you think you're actively passing on? Not just biologically, but, your values, your wisdom, the nature of your relationships. What's your legacy looking like? And finally, how do you personally wrestle with or make sense of that tension we talked about? The inherent beauty and dignity of being human, right alongside the undeniable brokenness and mortality that these verses depict so powerfully. Heavy questions, maybe, but worth considering. We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts or any questions this brought up for you. Thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive.